For someone who is new in their career, a new graduate nurse, or someone who hasn't interviewed in a while, maybe feeling a little nervous, I think I have some tips to help you get ready. Hello family, my name is Jasmine Betsy, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to get ready for your nursing interview. I have been a registered nurse for 11 years now, and I actually had an interview today that went well and it ended with an offer. So I felt like it was the perfect time for me to share some questions and scenarios that you may run into. Fortunately for me, throughout my years, I have never gone on an interview that didn't result in a job offer, okay? Partially because I feel like I'm prepared and really good at interviewing, but secondly, there's a big need for nurses. Like, I kind of feel like they don't have room to be too picky, but for someone who is new in their career, a new graduate nurse, or someone who hasn't interviewed in a while, maybe feeling a little nervous, I think I have some tips to help you get ready. Don't forget to like this video, share it with another nurse, and subscribe to my channel. I plan to put out more content regarding my career as a registered nurse. I wrote some things down, so you'll see me looking over here in my notebook. This is actually what I wore. I have a knee-length dress on. It's black, no real cleavage. Simple or small dangly earrings are a good choice. Minimal bracelet. But I'm a girly girl. I like to dress up. I had some small 3-inch pumps. But you don't have to do that. You could wear slacks. You could even wear scrubs. Nicely pressed, clean scrubs work too for nursing interviews. There has been a time where I got off work. I was working night shift and I went directly to an interview the next morning. I just freshened up my makeup in the bathroom so I didn't look all sleepy. It was fine. If you're not sure how that feels, ask the person in HR, hey, do you mind? Would it be okay if I come in my scrubs? And usually they don't mind at all. That's what you're gonna be wearing most of the time. Just make sure it's very ironed. Now, the typical starter question is, tell me something about yourself, right? So be prepared for that. They don't want you to repeat your resume. You can tell them about your background, where you grew up, maybe something about your family dynamics, your mom, you have 2 kids, you just moved here, you want to start over, you moved to the city to be closer to your in-laws or something interesting like that. Speak about some of your upcoming goals and some of your interesting experience. Maybe you have a military background, maybe nursing is your second career, maybe you were previously a teacher, things like that kind of make you relatable. You can even mention your favorite sports team. So I'm in Houston, Texas. You can say you're a Rockets fan or you're an Astros fan. And sometimes that's a good icebreaker and make you more relatable to your interviewer. Another question you can anticipate is, why did you choose this hospital or why did you choose this position? To be prepared for this question, it's a good idea to go to the company's website and look up the mission statement, look at some achievements, some little tidbits about the particular facility that you're interviewing at. So for me, I was interviewing at a level 1 trauma hospital, and I mentioned that it's an urban hospital, inner city, and they deal with a lot of minorities. And I mentioned those things, and I said I really wanted to work with that population, obviously because I'm a minority, and I wanted to be at a level 1 trauma for the excitement, for the interesting cases, and for the experience. When they ask this question, mention some of the things you recognize. Maybe they're listed number 3 in the country for cardiac surgery or number 1 in the state for neurology. Mention something like that and describe your strong interests. Say you always had an interest for neurology and I saw you guys were number 3 in the state for neurology and I have a strong interest in that. And that makes it, okay, you're not just looking for a job. You're specifically looking to be with this company. Then you can anticipate scenario questions. So there'll be things like, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond for a patient. Tell me about a time where there was some conflict between you and a coworker and how you worked it out. In those situations, in those scenarios, they always want to see how you critically think and please make sure you always turn it into a positive. What I would say is, so there's been times where we have personality differences with my coworkers. Obviously, we are in a female dominant environment, and I just keep the respect mutually. I understand that we all come from different backgrounds and have different opinions. I always address my coworkers privately, personally first before following the chain of command. And usually that resolves things, because even though we don't have to marry each other, we just have to be able to work professionally together. And most people understand it. It's a lot of different personalities. It can get very emotional, especially with a big group of women. So just list how you can keep your cool and you're not going to be the problem on the unit. That's major key. We want to see that you could work well with everybody and you're not going to be the problem starter, or you're not going to be the one that calls the manager and the charge nurse every time there's something. Tell me about a time you went above and beyond for a patient. Scenarios that I have used before was a patient, she was missing her daughter's prom and she was really upset. She was in the hospital about it, and I let her use my iPhone to FaceTime them. Or another time where a patient was complaining about her concerns about going home, so I went above and beyond and made sure the social worker was notified to get some medical equipment to help her get up and down the steps, and contact her insurance about a lift and things like that. Sometimes you can even make these scenarios up, but you have to be quick enough so you're not mumbling over your words. I remember I mentioned a time before a patient was complaining about their foot hurting and we couldn't see anything wrong with the foot, and then I took off their sock and looked further, and I saw that during surgery the bear hugger actually caused like a 2nd-degree burn on the bottom of their foot, and everybody else had ignored it before me. Just something like that. Just make sure you turn whatever this negative situation into a positive. Tell me about a time where there was a conflict with a patient's family, and how did you resolve that? What did you learn from this scenario? That's big too. If you can mention, from this scenario, I learned to always double check and, look it over once or twice and be very specific and chart the words that my patient says. It feels like burning, it feels like pressure, and make sure the doctor is notified in quotations of what the patient is saying. Always turn it into a learning experience and a positive one. Another popular question is, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Now, you can mention things like you want to get certified in a specialty like med-surg certified, critical care nurse certification, or something like that. You want to be a part of a committee. You want to move up in roles. You want to join specific clubs. You can also say, I don't know what that looks like right now. What are the opportunities for advancement? And you can push it back on them. But what you don't want to say is something that makes them believe that you'll be leaving soon, because companies don't want to spend all that money on training you just for you to leave in 2 years or less, even though that may be what happens. Sometimes hospitals are reluctant to hire those who are in school and transition, because they know that this is very temporary for you. You're in grad school, you're trying to become an NP, and you just need something in between time. But in this climate right now, they're so desperate. They'll probably still take you. However, you don't want to make it seem like this is just a job for you. You want to make it seem as though you really want to be with this company. Another question you can anticipate is, why should we hire you? This is the opportunity for you to sell yourself as an asset. You're prompt, you're timely, you're reliable, you hardly ever call out, work well autonomously, you have great time management skills. Talk about you won the Daisy Award at your previous hospital. You're ECMO certified, you're certified to hang chemo. Sell all your good stuff. You need to make it sound good. Make yourself sound as best as you can. Tell them how you're going to be an asset to your team, your experience as a charge nurse, and sell it all. This is your time to shine and gloat about yourself. Another question that may arise is behavioral-based questions. How would you act, or how would you respond to a family member who was very upset, angry, or disappointed about the care they had been receiving? How would you respond to a physician who is being very rude and is not taking your concern serious, is not coming to round on this patient, how would you respond to conflict with your coworkers? Think about those scenarios and give a good answer where you could kind of spin it around and make a positive outcome. Now, there will be situations where you just can't please people, and just be honest and say, you know, I will do the best I can, deliver service recovery, patient recovery. I'll speak to my chargers, my management, get ethics committee involved if I have to, follow the chain of command. You know, the interviewer understands that there are just scenarios where you can't please everybody, but we want to see that you at least make effort and you try. How do you handle stress? How do you handle conflict? So for me, like, what I would revert back to is the pandemic, COVID. That was a very stressful time for all of us. Everybody who worked during that time can just be like, ugh. You could say, I learned to just step away for 2 minutes and take some deep breathing. I learned to, you know, give myself grace and understand that I'm doing the best I can. I learned to ask for help when I can, you know, review policies. But yeah, how do you handle stress? How do you handle working under short staffing situations? How do you handle working with limited supplies? How do you handle working alone? How do you handle working without a tech to assist you? Lastly, at the end of your interview, I can anticipate it closing with, do you have any questions? Do not say no. Think of something creative to say, such as, how long is orientation? Or what does your orientation process look like? What is the computer charting system that you use? What are your opportunities for advancement? Can you give me a typical patient assignment? What would that look like on a regular day? What would my patients usually look like? Those are really good questions. You can discuss compensation. Do it in a professional jargon. So it's usually mentioned in the interview how much is paid. And you can also ask, is this negotiable? I always ask for more. Even if they can't give it to me, at least I'll be at the same place where I started. But there has been times where I was able to negotiate more. So you never know. I always say ask for $5 more, and maybe they'll meet you in the middle with 2 or 3. Imagine if you didn't ask. Imagine if I never asked. What can I do to get this extra $5? Or what, you know, just give it a try in a professional way. Is this negotiable? Sometimes these hospitals do have like tiers based on your years of experience, and it is what it is. But you never know until you try. Be sure to bring at least two copies of your resume in a folder and a pen. Sometimes it's not needed, but sometimes it is. Sometimes the recruiter is just as flustered interviewing several people throughout the day and they misplace your resume, or maybe it's more than one person in your interview with you. Sometimes I've had up to 3 people in the interview with me and one person may not have it or whatever. Also, particularly in this interview that I went to, it was for a position in the PACU, which is the post anesthesia care unit. It's a division of surgery. I also had my acute care step down resume in there. Oddly enough, they offered me a position I didn't apply for because I had experience in another area. After 11 years, I could, you know, you kind of move around different specialties and get the experience. So that may be a good idea for you too if you are predominantly like ER and you're applying for an ICU position. Or you may have had 5 years in the ER and 5 years in the ICU. You know, if I'm applying for ICU, I have my ICU resume. If I'm applying for my surgery positions, I'll have a surgery resume. But I make sure I have both because it shows that you're versatile and it shows that you are capable of working on a lot of machines and you've had quite a bit of experience. So that's attractive. If you like this video and you would like to see more videos regarding nursing, please leave me a comment in the section below and let me know. I can bring on Nurse Jasmine more to YouTube. Don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe.